Thank you very much. Thank you so much, and thanks also for the preparation for this talk about what you've just explained to us about data, because I will build on it. I'm not doing a company presentation. I'm the chairman. I'm not the CEO. The CEO is here in the middle, but the CEO has allowed us to use the company as an example for artificial intelligence and for a presentation about bots. Now, what is the company? Very quickly. It's the biggest portal for automotive purposes in Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia. So add it all up, it's bigger than the US as a market and has a significant potential. And it's the #1 player. So, and it's represented by Hamish Stone, who is sitting here in the middle, and a couple of other board members, so give him an applause. Because what he has created, and what I'm allowed to present today, is pretty amazing. So we are driving on this road, and the first sign which comes up is people are already spending twice as much money on advertising automotive in our markets than in the neighboring markets, where there is a multi-billion-dollar company just servicing this large island with hardly any people on it called Australia. And then the next sign comes up and it says, but that's twice as much spent here than in Australia, is on the basis that people don't actually have that many cars yet in use. And there's a 6-time uplift. So if you add these two things up, we are 12 times bigger than the player over there. So prepare yourself. One day this company will be $20, $30, $40 billion market cap. And this is not a forward-looking statement. This is just an estimate. And what I'm going to do in the next couple of minutes is, Hamish has allowed me to let you look under the hood. The second bit is I talk a bit about disruption. I talk about data, artificial intelligence, and bots, and how they fit in, and what can go right with bots, but also what can go wrong with bots. We've seen it all. If you need a car, we might have a good deal for you at the end of the presentation. Myself, just 3 sentences. I used to run iProperty, and I've got a background in online and in let's say marketplaces and real estate. So under the hood, our revenues are growing above around 49% in the first half of the year. We are managing our losses, so 2 of our countries are coming closer and closer to the break-even point, and the other one we are still investing in. Paying accounts are up, 8 million visitors a month, so a beautiful company, and the #1 thing is it's clearly #1, and we send 700,000 leads a month to dealers and people who are interested in cars. 700,000 leads, quite impressive. And we disrupt by unleashing the data, the big data. And we ask questions. Disruption is making things easier, making things simpler. The dealer hasn't called me back. What's my car really worth? How does Patrick's latest car compare to mine? I can tell you one thing, your car is much smaller than his car, but at least how does he compare to you? And it's after midnight. I want to buy a car, but I need to talk to someone. But the dealer doesn't pick up, obviously after midnight. Let's book a test drive. I want to book one now. This is what disruption is about, and this is where iCar has created some amazing, amazing technology to help to solve problems in the real world. And our focus is 3 areas: used cars, new cars, and also adjoining areas where we use technology. In the used car space, it's very much about allowing people to sell a car as easy as possible, which means giving everyone a simple tool to take pictures of a car and upload it immediately. And the key here is not just to the vendor, but also to the dealer and to the buyer. So everybody uses this technology, and the interesting thing is penetration rates, as you can see up here, are extremely high. 89% penetration rate with the dealers in Indonesia is pretty impressive. On the new car side, it's very much about creating demand, working out what you really, really want, giving you all sorts of specification and data which you won't find unless you go through every prospect and compare and so on, readily available, and then advising you. Now, sometimes people are simply not able to answer. That's where the bots come in. And while the bots are talking, data is being generated. And then you drive to a offline event. My predecessor just said there will always be an offline transaction, and that's right. Online companies are, however, the ones who are most destined to be the ones to create these offline events. For example, one day we woke up and said, let's create a car show. Now, a car show in Malaysia. There have been many attempts. Many people have failed. Maybe they got 5,000 visitors, maybe they got 8,000 visitors, 9,000. We did it, and we generated 20,000 visitors in the first attempt. And it was so successful that the government has kind of declared this to be the official car show for Malaysia. And now we're creating specific luxury car shows, other car shows, and also doing the same thing in other countries. But we can only do it because we're an online player. We're able to draw massive crowds. We have a large database. We have a lot of strong brand, which drives people to it. And the way it works is shown in a video, which I ask the team now to run through. It actually has a sound. So what you do is you search for a new car. While you search, you get segmented. So you are someone looking for a car where you put kids in. So you probably don't have enough money because you spend all your money on your kids. You need financing. This information is aggregated, and then at a later stage, this pre-qualified person, this pre-qualified information, then interacts with a bot. And the bot gathers further data and also helps you to set up a test drive, advises where the next dealership is, and simply connects you without wasting the time of the dealer. So the dealer is able to spend all his time on value-adding tasks. Yes, and obviously that's a Microsoft problem. So if we could go back to the slide, without running through all the slides, ideally. We are a bit linear still. Go on, one more. So we've just booked a test drive and used the bot. So now it's all about, next slide. Okay. So what the bot does is two things. It works on two sides. On the one side, it makes the life of the potential buyer much easier, gathers information while doing it. So it provides a service, but also takes from the buyer vital information. So everybody's happy and passes the information on to the salesperson. But then the next thing which also happens is, and it's the next step for us, is we are able to qualify salespeople. We can say who is a good salesperson, who is not a good salesperson, who is responding fast to leads. In fact, we can even find the right salesperson for the right inquiry. That's where data, big data, and chatbots are really, really powerful. Now, some people say bots are evil. And I have to tell you, the jury is still out. It's with everything which is close to human. If you don't watch them, they turn a bit nasty. So the first key learning is rich parents usually have very naughty kids. Google's AI became quite aggressive because the AI worked out, the bot worked out, aggression is the best strategy to get an outcome. Humans have worked that out 2 million years ago. Then Facebook created a little racist, and Microsoft created a little racist, but Facebook created bots which developed their own language. And you might say, oh, well, that's just for the media. It's not true. We had the same experience. So our bot was initially a bit of a liar, because lying is a strategy where you get an outcome much faster. Why try to explain to someone when you can just lie and get the outcome faster? And you might say, this would never happen in real life. And I say, just look in the mirror. And so what are other learnings which we have? Huge knowledge pool. Technology is so helpful for the bot. We have 2.1 terabyte of data of all car brands, of the history of the brand. What does BMW really mean? What is Porsche known for? What was the first Porsche? It was actually an electric car. It's not Tesla who invented the electric car, it's Porsche. Porsche had the first electric car, and it's Porsche, it's not Porsche. The bot would know that. 67% of the questions are about generic things. Generic questions to test out ARI's intelligence. So what's the time? Where are you based? Blah, 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 blah. 15%, and it's growing, are really specific questions about the automotive industry. What car should I buy? What car is similar to whatever the Toyota XYZ model? Does this car have aircon on the back seat? Yes or no? 8% of the questions are inappropriate and trying to date ARI. And interesting enough, when you look at the domain names, most of them come from Catcher Group. It's really weird. And but this will go away. But the only issue is, why do I bring it up? Not because it's funny, but because these questions actually start to train the bot with wrong behavior. And this behavior doesn't go away. It's like a child which is watching inappropriate TV all the time. Eventually it will show in school, will say wrong things. So therefore, bots need to be trained. Bots need a lot of work. It's not just you buy a bot and then the bot will work through your problems. You have to train. It takes 6 months to educate a proper bot. It's like a child. It's faster than a child. So therefore, you have got already some disruptive elements. So what are the key learnings with the bots? The key learnings with the bots are, give them simple tasks to gather information, or qualify. Give them repetitive tasks. They don't make any mistakes. Let them learn. 6 months. Create a simple UI, ideally embedded in Messenger, and acknowledge the fact that when you use a bot, when you use a messenger service, it removes the whole question about registration, because if you're using a messenger, you have either your mobile number or some username password already signed up for, so therefore people know who you are. Then you're already in a position where the counterparty for whom we provide the service knows who they are dealing with. So in these 12 minutes or 13 minutes, I've allowed you a quick look under the iCar Asia hood. I would encourage you to read up a bit more about iCar Asia, because it's probably one of the most amazing companies I've ever worked for. And given my progressed age, I've seen a lot of companies. Disruption, I've spoken about what disruption really means. We've covered a bit how data, artificial intelligence, and bot help in the disruption, help in making things easier in our real world. What can go wrong with bot? What can go right with bot? I haven't answered the question about if you need a car and so on. I mean, Hamish has warned me to say this, but if we get like 10 Porsche orders out of today, we can offer you a special discount. So please see me afterwards. And how much discount do you think we can? Okay, good. If there are any questions, you can see me outside. Thank you very much, Ketcher. Thank you very much to my colleagues in the room for supporting this presentation. I think there's also one person who doesn't work for iCar in here somewhere. Okay, thank you. Have a nice one.